level 111. So we have 3 crystals. That means 3 zones. And that means we need at least 3 groups of bunnies and bombs. That means this can't hit all these because we need 3 zones. So at least 2 of these are not hit by this bomb. So this and this cannot be hit by this bomb. So they need to be hit by something else. Ergo, we have to have this. And now that lets us fill in this row with walls. And now let's see. We need separation here, which tells me, well, what does it tell me? We could have a wall here. At least one of these has to be a wall. Because this water drop needs to be connected here. It can't connect to anything else because that would connect it here. So we know these are connected. So what if this is not a wall? If this is not a wall, then at least one of these has to be a wall. These can't be walls. Now what if... let's see. What happens if we have a wall like here? Right? That could be an option. But what happens then is that these are not walls, and then we get a contradiction. So that tells me that at least one of these is a wall. Maybe 2. But at least one of these is a wall. Which means that we need to have a wall here or here. So these are not walls either. And let's look here. This column has only one more wall left, which can't create separation here. And that means these are connected. And we also know they have to be connected to this crystal, which means they can't connect to this crystal, which has to connect to something else, this or this. And the only way to get past is here. And therefore we need walls here and here. That grays out this column. And yeah, that lets us fill in this column as well. And that tells us the wall in this row has to be here. So now that lets us fill in empty spaces in the bottom here. And now one more wall in each of these columns has to be one of these 2. So these are not walls. Also, now we know that this is one zone. That means that each of these bunnies has to belong to a separate zone. That means this bomb has to hit this one. And it means this is hit by one of these. And also, we need separation here, since one of these will connect to this one and the other will connect to this one. We don't know which will hit which yet. Let's see. We have a gray column. Now that connects this bomb to this bunny, which means it can't be connected to this bunny, which means this bunny will be hit by the final bomb. This can't be a wall. Now we need separation here, so this has to be a wall. And that grays out this row. So now we know this crystal connects to these, and this one has to connect here, which means this has to be a wall. That grays out this, and we can fill in this row with walls. Now this is gray, and we have a connection here. Now these need to be separated. And this row has two more walls. This is gray, so is this. Now we can look at the question marks and the sums. So the sum here is 22. The sum here is 26. Let's see, this currently has two walls, which increases the sum to 28. This row has two walls, which increases the sum 24. No, I mean this column has 5 walls, which increases this sum to 27. So we need at least one more wall. So now the sums are 28. This can't increase. That means this row, if it had any more walls, then we get an inequality. So these can't be walls, and these have to be walls. Level 112. Let's see. These bunnies can only be hit by this bomb. So X is at least 4. Now let's see. This row is X, and it can't be higher than 8. Which means, so this is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means at least these 3 are hit by Y. And we see the sums here, 32 and 22. And there are 2 X rows and 2 Y columns. So that means this sum will be 32 plus 2 times Y, and this sum will be 22 plus 2 times X. And you'll find that 2 times X, if X is 8, then that is 16, which increases this sum to 38. And if X is 8, then Y is 3. 2 times Y is 6. 32 plus 6 is 38. So that means, well, that's the way it has to be. Y equals 3 and X equals 8. That means we can fill in this row. And now these columns are gray. And this row. Now, of course, we need walls to separate. So this is either going to connect here or here. So one of these has to be empty and the other has to be a wall, because there are only single walls in these rows. That tells me that one of these and one of these is a row, is a wall. That means these are not walls. This row only has one wall, and that has to connect to this wall diagonally or vertically. So this is not it, and the same here and here. Also, these are not walls. The bottom row we can fill in with walls. That grays out this. The wall on this row has to be somewhere here. This is gray. This column has 9 walls. This is gray. And also this is gray now. And that means this is connected here. That means we need separation here. And the wall here must be here, or else, well, it could be here, I suppose, and the wall here. So we can't determine, but it's not here. Also, this is gray. Now we can fill in this. And since this is connected here, it can't be connected to this. So we need separation here. That means the wall in this row cannot be here. Now, these are gray. And that means the wall here needs to be here. This is gray. The wall here, well, there's one wall left in the column and in the row, and it has to be here. Now this is gray. These are gray. This must have two more walls, and the last two spaces are empty. Level 113. Now, we can fill in these. Now, if we look here, this is going to have 13 walls. It tells me that, and also I should mention, so these clusters of 9 bunnies, they have to be hit by the same group of bombs, right? Because if this hits these, then none of these can hit any of these. So one group of bombs, if it hits, well, if one of them hits one of these rows, then all of them hits this cluster of bunnies. Also, let's see here. Since there are 13 walls in this row, that means these bunnies can't be hit by these, and these bunnies can't be hit by these. There are just too many walls. That means they have to be hit by these. And that means that X is 2. And for X to be 2, this has to happen. So that tells us that either Y or Z is 0. But let's look at this row. It only has one wall. So that can't block all these 3. Which means that Z is not 0. And that means Y has to be 0. Now, so there needs to be one wall here, one wall here. Right, so bombs between the bunnies here and these bombs. So these can't be walls. And also now we see this crystal is connected to all of this, which means there needs to be separation here somewhere. Well, we can see, we can fill in these rows with walls, and for there to be separation, the 13 walls here need to be here. All right, there we go. Now this is gray, and this. And we see we have to place walls here to block these bombs from these bunnies. Fill in here. This has to be a wall. Now this is gray. Also, this can't be a wall. And also, this cannot be a wall because that would make an empty space here. One of these others could be a wall. Now let's see, this has to be a wall. That grays out this row and this column. That means we can fill in this column with walls and also this one. Now, this has to be a wall, so does this. And this has to be a wall. Now this is gray, and so this has to be a wall. Grays out this, which means this has to be a wall. This is gray, and this is gray as well. And here. And we see the top row we can fill in with walls. Level 114. Now this can only be hit by this bomb, and this bunny is connected to this crystal. Therefore it can't be hit by this bomb because that would connect it to this crystal. So it has to be hit by this bomb. That means there has to be a wall here, and this bunny has to be hit by this bomb. This bunny can only be hit by this bomb. Now we see it's connected to this crystal and has to be separated from this one. So there are 9 walls here, so at least one of these is going to be a wall. That means, yeah, we can't have open spaces in both. And therefore the configuration of bombs is like this. Now, there's one set of bunnies and bombs that is unconnected and one crystal. So they have to connect somehow. And there needs to be a space here so this doesn't get locked in. There has to be, yeah, and since these belong to this, we need separation here. That grays out this. We need more pathing, and these can't touch. So there's a wall here. Now this is grayed out. This has to be a wall. There has to be a path from here down here somewhere. So this can't be open or empty. Now this is gray. And this column has 9 walls. So this is neatly locked up in its own zone. The difficulty is in separating these two. Now this has to be empty. These 4 rows have 1 wall left. That wall has to separate the path this is going to take and these. So there can't be walls here because that would mean the rest is open. So these are not walls. That lets us fill in this column. And now this is gray. So this has to be a wall. And now this is gray. So there's only one space open in this row. It can't be here, because then these would be walls and this would have to be empty, which would connect these, which can't be since this has to connect here. So this has to be a wall, and now this is gray, and we have the same thing here. So the connection has to be here. This has to be a wall. This has to be empty, and this must be a wall. This has to be a wall. Now this is gray, and so is this. Fill in the last wall here. And there are 2 spots left, which have to be walls.